Most optimistic myths include: we have an infinite number, diversity, and variety of lives to live. We have an infinite number, diversity, and variety of bodies to give. We are seed, body, soul, and spirit. We are seed, body, soul, and spirit. We have an infinite number, diversity, and variety of lives to live. We have an infinite number, diversity, and variety of bodies to give. Just think about that for a second. All of a sudden, all this effort to try to live your best life and collaborate with criminals, that all goes away. I guarantee you, everybody who is mixed up in a criminal regime is collaborating because they're trying to live their best life, because they think this is the one and only life they have to live, the one and only body they have to give. All they are is a seed in a body. And because they believe that, they're trying to live their best life. And because they're trying to live their best life, and because their heart is filled with sorrow, fear, and anger anyways, they're willing to collaborate with criminal regimes. All authoritarian regimes depend upon the prevalence of a pessimistic mindset within the populace in order to thrive, to survive politically. They need it. They need collaborators. The biggest danger to any authoritarian regime actually is people refusing to believe that this is the one and only life they have to live, but that they have an infinite number, diversity, and variety of lives to live. As soon as they start believing that, then threats made by a few paranoid, oppressive, violent people against lives, against one's body, lose some, if not all, of their potency. I mean, it really depends on how much somebody really believes that this is not the one and only life they have to live, as to how potent their threats against their life will be. And it depends upon how much a person believes that this is not the one and only body they have to give. It being potency of threats against the body. So the potency of threats against the body depends upon the willingness of a person to believe that this is the one and only life they have to live. If they're not willing to believe that, potency of those threats is diminished. Maybe to the point where they just simply will not go along with a criminal regime. Will not cooperate with it, will not collaborate with it, because they require collaborators. Guaranteed. And some people think, well, this is the one and only life I have to live, and they think that blind obedience and unswerving loyalty will be their superpower that will enable them to rise to the highest echelons of wealth, income, and power within our society. Unswerving loyalty and unquestioning obedience, right? It sounds like slavery, doesn't it? Call it spiritual slavery, perhaps. This is what I've been talking about basically in these videos, is prevalence of spiritual slavery within the culture. Now, I've heard some people say, I won't say who I heard say this, but it was a famous influencer here on a famous video sharing platform. And this influencer stated that we need our slaves, right? Because they do make the world work, right? We couldn't do without them. So he's making the argument, therefore, that we need to. What he was really saying we need people to be living in fear. Because if they're living in fear, then they can be fear can be harnessed for the, I don't know. I don't know if fear is really the answer, though. Is it? It's faith is the answer. Can faith be harnessed? Sure. But what about faith in fear? Then what do you have, right? You've got faith, but you also got it's in fear. Faith in the value of these pessimistic myths, for example. Faith in the value of pessimism. Is it faith? Or is it fear? Maybe it's both. Faith in the good entity who rules in heaven and fear of the evil entity who rules over the earth. So there's a balance there too, Faith in the good entity who rules in heaven, and fear of the evil entity who rules over the earth. Faith in the few paranoid, oppressive, violent people who rule over domestic territories, and fear of the outsiders. Remember before I was talking about, in another video, I mentioned how belief in the value of the most optimistic myths enables people can balance the emotional forces of their minds. People can balance joy, faith, and love with sorrow, fear, and anger. While I believe that is certainly true, I also note that there's a balance between faith in the good entity and fear of the evil entity. This can create a sort of, perhaps, balance of sorts. And could this lead to a happiness? Certainly, I think it could. But only if the person is willing to enslave themselves to the will of the few paranoid, oppressive, violent people, essentially. To exhibit unswerving loyalty and unquestioning obedience complete and total commitment to a belief in the pessimistic myth. Pessimistic myth is few paranoid, oppressive, violent people are representatives of the good entity here on planet Earth. You gotta believe in that, and believe that the outsiders are representatives of the evil entity. I suppose it's different, isn't it? See, I could never do that. I could never live like that. Because it's pessimistic. That's why. Pessimism. This desire on the part of a few paranoid, oppressive, violent people to defeat the outsiders is expressed in a myth about the final victory of the good entity over the evil entity. Prediction. They're all trying to make this happen, right? This mirroring effect, though, is interesting. The way that pessimistic myth about the good entity having a final victory over the evil entity mirrors the desire of the few paranoid, oppressive, violent people to defeat the outsiders. And basically rule over the entire earth. There's a mirroring there. So I suppose the reward handed down on Judgment Day by the few paranoid, oppressive, violent people to those who were faithful and exhibited unquestioning loyalty and unswerving obedience to their will. The reward would be elevation to a place of safety and refuge. Right, this place of safety and refuge be a haven on earth. And the punishment for those who are unfaithful, presuming that the few paranoid, oppressive, violent people took over the world. Took over the world. Judged all people, and the unfaithful would be what would be their punishment. They would be cast down to a place of danger and exposure. And the place of danger and exposure would be hell on earth. Some of them would be murdered upon arrival, and some would be enslaved under horrendous conditions until they drop dead of either, well, maybe both, disease and or starvation. We've seen this already. It's a mirroring. Do you see the mirror of myths, pessimistic myths about the spiritual realm reflecting back to you truths about our set of living arrangements? This has already happened. This fantasy has already been acted out by tyrants who defeat an enemy and then judge the people and create a place like a concentration camp to slave them and kill them. I've already seen this happen. That's what I'm trying to say to you. You're trapped. If you choose to believe in the value of a myth because the myth suggests a truth about your set of living arrangements, you're trapping yourself into believing in pessimistic myths. You understand that? Trapping yourself into it. Because what other myths are made possible by the totality? Well, turns out we know next to nothing about almost everything. For that reason, an infinite number, diversity, and variety of myths are made possible by the totality. And again, myths are ideas. Ideas are thoughts, beliefs, and expectations about the totality. And myths are unverifiable and unfalsifiable. We can use our senses and perceptions. However, we cannot verify whether or not myths are true. We cannot verify whether or not myths are false. Myths are unverifiable and unfalsifiable. And the totality makes possible an infinite number, diversity, and variety of myths. So, let us suppose a person decides to believe in a pessimistic myth because the pessimistic myth suggests the truth about their set of living arrangements, and they want to be able to use their senses of perceptions to confirm their belief in the value of their ideas. Well, in that event, a person would be basically dismissing an infinite number of diversity and variety of other myths, other possibilities. So I appreciate the fact that there is a truthiness to discovery religions. And again, discovery religions are built upon a lie. The lie is these pessimistic myths are truths. There's a truthiness to it because these pessimistic myths suggest truths about our set of living arrangements. To say that they are truths, that's a lie. That's a lie. They're not truths. They're pessimistic myths. These pessimistic myths suggest truths about our set of living arrangements. And if you think the only thing that's important is the truth, then it's highly likely that if you were going to believe in any myth at all, that it would be that one. A myth that suggests truths about the set of living arrangements. Person would. Not you. Not you. Somehow I got off into talking about you. I don't know how that happened. Sorry. Apologize. I meant to say the person who believes in the value of pessimistic myths. Those people.